So this never happened, and it is an absolute shame. But there is a specific reason to blame here for why it never happened. So this is what it looks like. This is Bulk and Skull as Power Rangers. And I'm not telling you that they should have been a part of the team. I'm telling you that something like this had the potential to work and be one of the most memorable moments in all of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. But because we stick to a format in Power Rangers of a formula television series, this is the reason these things can't happen. Keep in mind, because the formula has to reset, and this is not just for television, but works also when we talk about comic books. We set up an idea as to what the comic book is, and then as we go forward, if anything changes, inevitably, in the end, we have to change it back so that we can keep the formula. Lex Luthor has to be a bad guy, and so on and so forth. And these are situations where no matter how much we change, no matter how much we humanize something, it has to go back to the way that it is. And Power Rangers is like this on a weekly basis. We have to start every series, we have to start every episode the same way as we started the last episode, and there has to be a status quo that follows through with everything that we do. That's the reason that the shows normally work. Kids have some sort of situation, Monster shows up, they fight Monster, they beat Monster, they summon giant, Monster grows, giant Zords are summoned, Zord fight, beat Monster, solve the situation that originally was presented as the teenage situation at the beginning of the show. And then we repeat that process over and over and over and over and over. Remember when Bulk and Skull were very interested in determining who the Rangers were, and as they constantly fought the idea and did all this kind of work and everything to develop the idea of who are the Rangers, there came a time when the Rangers were actually exposed to them. The identities of the Power Rangers were revealed to Bulk and Skull during Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And what we did with that was that they actually showcased the kind of people they were by stepping forward and facing down a monster in defense of those people. It didn't matter that those were people that they didn't care for originally. They weren't friends with Billy. They weren't friends with Jason. They weren't friends with Kimberly. That's not a thing. There was very much a bully, and if you've heard me talk about it, there was a bully on bully situation. The teens were not exactly innocent, and Bulk and Skull did bring it on themselves sometimes, but let's be honest, more often than not, Bulk and Skull were actually the people being bullied. Well, look here. When it became evident that their heroes, the Rangers, were those kids, and those kids needed assistance, they stepped up and gave that assistance. And because of that, their memories ended up being wiped, and they didn't remember it. But that's because we had to go back to the status quo. We had to return these characters to the mindless idiots that they were and not allow them to know who the Rangers are. And that is entirely negative, because later on, when the Rangers came across trouble or something could have happened where the Rangers, say, lost their powers because the parents of Angel Grove were kidnapped, what if in that storyline or any other storyline where the Rangers lose their powers, what if there are two other coins that had never been chosen? Emergency powers. They're not finished yet. They don't have Zords, and they don't have full access to the morphing grid. That's the reason they're not actually used. Two powers of a new set of Rangers that are in development, and Zordon feels that he never truly unlocked all the mysteries of the coin, So these Rangers just simply aren't ready for action. But because of dire situations, because of what is currently taking place, there's no real choice here. They need 2 Rangers. They need at least 1 Ranger. And Bulk and Skull, the kids realize Bulk and Skull know who they are. And they've never given away that information. And they've been standing up for them. And the dynamic of the original beginning of the show has changed dramatically by this point. Bulk and Skull are actually friends of the Rangers at this point. Real friends. Trustworthy friends. And so we make a decision. We offer them the chance to help us, to be one of their heroes. They idolize the Rangers. They love the Rangers, especially in new content where you see things like they have a YouTube channel that specifically praises the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. If you take that concept and you offer them a chance to help the Rangers, they're going to take it at that point if storylines were allowed to develop. And Bulk and Skull at that point would say yes. And we offer them 2 power coins. And we warn them, you're not going to have access to Zords. The weapons are not a guarantee. This power may not protect you like it does us. These Ranger coins are not ready for combat. But we don't have any choice. Then we get 2 special episodes. 2 special episodes where we bring Bulk and Skull in, and then on the second episode they transform and they have their own battle against a monster where they put the monster down, recover the Rangers' powers. The Rangers come in. They stand side by side with these 2 new creations, have a big, giant, cool fight where Bulk and Skull even get to stand on the battlefield and watch the Megazord throw down. And then at the end, they give those power coins back with the idea that maybe someday, when these powers are ready, they could get them. Now that never happens. This is just a one-off episode that happens because of situations, and these coins will end up destroyed when all the other situations happen that damage the morphing grid and damage the coins and force us to become other Rangers. That would still take place the same way. But for one shining moment, this could have happened if we didn't always have to revert back to the status quo, the formula of whatever television show you happen to be watching. We are entering into a golden age of television that does away with this kind of crap and allows for storylines like this to happen. Rangers needs to get with the time. The formula television needs to die. Look at shows that are on things like Netflix. Look at shows like Game of Thrones. And I know that you can't compare that to Rangers, but you could allow Rangers to be more sophisticated in its storytelling if you look at something like, say, Nickelodeon's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the CGI one. That was a damn good series. It was done very, very well. And if you just take a second and you look at that series and how much story and build-up and design went into that, how much continuity was built inside of that universe because it was allowed to tell stories that didn't have to follow the formula, the television resetting formula. Good guys become bad guys, enemies become friends, friends become enemies, and this storyline all leads us down to a major path with gigantic climactic events. This is only possible when we step away from the formula, and Power Rangers has really yet to do this. We're still stuck in the formula age of Power Rangers. And for whatever reason, we're not stepping away from it. Power Rangers needs to change. And if the Super Sentai is unwilling to change its formula design, which I actually believe that Super Sentai has left a good portion of the formula on the floor, but we have not. And we need to. Because something like this could have happened. Something like this should have happened. But as long as we stick to the formula, it will never happen. Something to think about.
have spoken.